Hey, my name is Emilio from Digital Stereo Guitar. Today we're going to look at a standard pedal board. We're going to go through my different pedals. We're also going to talk about the order of pedals and what sort of order your pedals should be going in, how to cable them, and we're going to go through that right now. Here is the pedal board that I am currently using. It's got a good range of different sorts of pedals that really gives me the mix and the sound that I want to get out of my guitar and out of my amp. So my overdrive pedals are these three here. The Voodoo Lab Sparkle Drive, which just gives you a really nice subtle gain, subtle overdrive, and also has this awesome clean knob right here where I can manually adjust the amount of clean level that is coming through the pedals from my guitar. So if you do like the tone of your guitar, this pedal does not suck out your tone, it actually complements your tone, and you can feed in how much of your clean tone you want to how much of your gain you want. You can adjust your tone and you can adjust your volume as well, and it's just got a standard input and output there, and that is very subtle. I generally like to use that just as a clean sound and just throw that on to just give you that extra little bit of overdrive, sort of give you that really nice mix. Then move into the Tube Screamer. The Tube Screamer itself gives you more overdrive. So let's think about that as the first one, and then it jumps up to this Tube Screamer, which is a lot bigger. The Tube Screamer, I've bought this intentionally to fit really nicely with my Les Paul and with my Vox. This may not sound good in every single amp scenario, but for me, it sounds brilliant, and that gives you that extra little bit of edge that the Sparkle Drive doesn't give you. This one is really just an overdrive pedal. So you've got your overdrive up and down, you've got your tone, and then you've got your level up and down. So you can adjust that how you need. Tube Screamer TS808, fantastic overall pedal, and just fits really nicely from this one to this one. So this is the Rat pedal. This is by a company called Proco. They do a couple of different sorts of pedals. This one I've had for a long time, and it is awesome. It is just a really fat, dirty pedal. If you do chuck that, if you do throw that distortion all the way over to 11 there, well, not 11, whatever that is, that's like a 5. It is going to be fairly chunky. It may actually be a bit overkill. So I generally like to just have it around 12 o'clock with my filter just a bit to my right on my tone, and then my volume, I don't know, it's adjusted there. My volume's generally around there, around the 2 o'clock mark, and that just adds really well. Another thing that I like to do is I like to sometimes layer these three together, and depending on the sound, I'll sometimes have all three of them on at once, or I'll just have the Sparkle Drive on with the Rat, or the Tube Screamer just with the Rat, or sort of just try to layer those three together. But that is really the combination of the three overdrives, and I find that regardless of the song, those three really mix really well. This is a Boss digital delay DD7. You can't go wrong with this particular pedal. A lot of guitarists have got these. They are a great overall cheap delay pedal, tap delay that is hooked up to just one of these foot tappers that I can just tap along and actually tap the tempo on here. Very easy pedal to use, and as I said, a lot of guitarists choose to use these because they are cheap and they are actually really good quality. You can change the tempo manually, you can change what sort of sound you want coming out of it. You can do like a reverse sound as well. You can manually adjust the level and manually adjust the actual delay straight through these knobs as well. And then you've got your output here, which I said runs into your tap pedal right here. Now, the great thing about this is that you can actually run this in stereo. You'll see that it's got an input A and an input B, and an output A and an output B. You can also run a mono into this and output it in stereo, which is actually quite cool. So if you're running into, say, dual amps and you want to have your delay flicking between amps, you can actually set that up as well, running your input out and then out from the two just there. TC Electronic Nova delay. It's got a digital display right here, so you can actually see the speed of your tap delay. You can tap it similar to what you can do on the DD7, but this is a lot more versatile. You've got a lot more control. You can adjust the feedback, you can adjust the color, the actual how it feels, I guess, from a mode there of tape to analog to digital, which is actually a really cool feature right there. You can just adjust that. You've got your Mod level, how loud you want the actual mod to be, because you've got down here mod style, and you've got different types of mods right here, 1, 2, and 3. So you can adjust the level types and the different modular sounds that you can adjust right there. And how loud do you want the mix to be as well. You've got different sorts of, I guess, delay types, delay line, dynamic, reverse, ping pong, pan, and snap. Some of those are really cool. Some of those will only work when you're running the pedal in stereo. As you can see, similar to that DD7, you can also run this left and right input and output. And then likewise, you can run a single one in and then dual outs to run that into stereo. You can save your settings, which is something that something like this will not have, or this is really just an on and off. This one you can actually save presets, you can customize the presets. So say if you have a set of songs, you're doing 5 or 6 songs, you can actually set 1 to be one delay type, 2 to be a different delay type. So you can actually mod all those, prepare all those beforehand, and then save them straight into the pedal. The Strymon Bluesky. This is the smaller brother. The bigger one is the Big Sky. I find this is a great overall versatile pedal. This is really just a modular pedal. It's a really, really fancy type of chorus type of pedal. You've got different sorts of sounds. You can change the mode types. You've got there different sets from norm, mod, and shimmer, which really changes the sound. Just by clicking this little switch, you can change the actual overall type, whether if it's plate, room, or spring, how much mix you want in there, if you want it to high, low damp, if you've got any pre-delay that you want to be running through there as well and adjust that accordingly, how long you want the decay to be. And then right here, you can actually save a particular saved favorite in there as well. Just really creates that beautiful chorus, ambience, really full sound. And when you pair that with one of these other delays, even some of the overdrives, it just creates a beautiful filling of the room. So very similar to my delay pedals, this one also is stereo, so you can run stereo through it, mono in, stereo out if you so choose to. Here we've got our Sigma comp. This is by CMAT Mods. This is a small little company that just does some really cool vintage sort of pedals. This is a compressor. It just compresses your sound. You can have larger sustains. You can adjust your level. So you can use this also as a boost. So a simple input and output, but obviously be very careful how your compressors, any compressor, is adjusted, because sometimes compressors can really suck tone out of a guitar if you're not too careful with how you adjust that. Polytune tuner, really nice small tuner. You don't really need to get anything fancy from a tuner perspective. That is just very simple, very clean. On and off, and it just tunes very, very nicely. Ernie Ball VP Junior volume pedal. This pedal is just really nice for doing swells. Also, it's just a mute, so if you turn it down, your guitar is off and you can strum and you won't hear it. Full volume, half volume. But this is really, really nice, especially if you're doing swells. If you are introducing a song and you want to sort of bring in the guitar very subtly, you could just essentially just strum and then just push your pedal down and do different swells. I can't recommend the Ernie Ball volumes enough. Vox wah, a wah pedal. Lots of different sorts of wah pedals out there. This one's good. It's by Vox. Great company, great pedal, standard input output, and it's super, super easy to use. And then this pedal is actually really, really nice and really, really helpful to me. It's by TC Electronics, and it's just a looper pedal. So you can just click on this, record something, click on it again, and that saves that particular recording, and then you can play it back. You've got a volume up and down. And what I find that's very helpful about that particular pedal is if you need a particular loop or a particular riff that is played over and over again in a song, or you need to introduce something and then take it out, you can just pre-record it into this. You can record live while you're playing and then play it back and then feed that in to the rest of your entire mix. So for me, really overlaying all of these core pedals, we'll say these are my core pedals, my overdrives, my mods, and my delays, mixing and matching these, turning them on at certain times, putting one on more than others is something that is super, super beneficial. Very often you wouldn't just have one on and not the other. I like to mod these together. So it's good to learn the songs, understand the parts that you are responsible for in playing as the electric guitarist, and then you adjust the pedals as you need to. You turn them on, you turn them off as you need. And the great thing is about your delays, you can tap the tempo of the song so that you know that your delay is going to be in time to the song. If the drummer goes out of beat, which can happen, you can then tap again and you can then get your beat back to where it was to be mixed and in sync with the rest of the band. So I've got myself a whole bunch of these patch cables. These are some patch cables which I find super helpful. These are called Free the Tone cables, and you literally just cut them yourself to the length that you want. You then screw them in. There's no soldering required. You just buy the pack. You get these heads, right angles or left. You just slot the cable in, put the head on, screw it in, and then you're good to go. And then you can easily just grab these and cut them. I guess the flexibility and the beauty of these sort of cables is you can really put your pedals anywhere you want, and then work out the length of your cables once the pedals are in there. So if I need to get a lead from this one to this one, I can just sort of work out how long it goes, and then cut the cable and then adjust it as accordingly. I like to keep my pedal board generally fairly clean, so I will run my cables underneath so that I don't have all of these cables sort of running on the top and visible. I like to have them nice and tucked in underneath, clean, so that they're fully visible, which is why I love these Free the Tone cables. They are on, I guess, a little bit more expensive than standard cables, but you buy them once and you can use them multiple times. You can cut them, you can resolder them, and they're all good to go. So we see that each individual pedal has obviously the power running into it, and then the input and output jacks using those Free the Tone cables. Now the daisy chaining is being done by one spot 9-volt adapters, and because those power adapters have got enough power to be able to power multiple pedals, we're not going to get that buzz. Generally, if you use a standard 9-volt adapter and try to daisy chain, that is not recommended, because you're going to be requiring more power than you actually have, which means you're going to get buzz, you're going to get tone affected through your guitar and through your pedals. So making sure that it's daisy chained, but that you obviously have adequate power powering your entire board as a whole. Now in terms of the pedals themselves and how they attach to the board, I'm using Velcro. Now there are different sorts of ways that you can do this. I've had people who look at screwing them into the actual board itself. I personally don't like doing that because I like to adjust my pedals. I like to pick and choose. Sometimes I won't want to play with a certain pedal, so I'll take it out and then I'll put a new pedal in. By having them Velcroed in, it's much easier to be able to just change my pedals around as needed. Now the important thing is to get good quality Velcro. So if I use this pedal, for example, I've just got 3 smaller strips of Velcro right here, and then on my board I've got Velcro stuck on. I generally have the soft side on the board itself and then the more rough side on here. Now whether that comes out on the camera or not, you'll see that this particular Velcro is very thick. So the actual teeth on the Velcro itself is very wide, and you'll find that when you do stick this onto the soft side on the pedal board, it's very hard to get out. My recommendation would be to try different types and see which one works best for you. Don't cheapen out on the Velcro unless you want to have the annoyance of pedals moving around. I can obviously turn this board upside down, shake it around, move it around, and none of my pedals will fall out. So get yourself a good quality Velcro, enough to obviously cover the entire board and be able to stick all of your pedals on there so that nothing moves. Now the order of these pedals is really dependent on you. So before we really even want to get into this, we just want to be clear. This is my preferred order. This is sort of some tips, some tricks, some ideas that you may want to have around the order of the pedal boards, because it really depends in which order you put the pedals, the output sound that you're going to get. Some pedals work better before sound, some pedals work better after particular pedals. This is my recommendation. It may not work for you, and of course, depending on the pedals that you've got, you want to go ahead and experiment. So really, I've got my guitar that just comes straight into the top. That runs directly into my very first pedal, which is my Sigma Comp. That is where I want my sound to come in first, so that my guitar itself is affected by the compressor. It has the sustain, it puts my volume up, puts my volume down as it needs to, and is not affected by any of the other pedals. Out of my compressor, I'm then running into my distortion. So these are 3 overdrive pedals that are increasing in brightness. I start with the lowest overdrive, so the one that has the least grunt first, and then from that running into my next overdrive, which is slightly more dirty, and then into my largest overdrive, which is the dirtiest of them all. That's going to give you the most overdrive and the most distortion. From the overdrives, I'm going to go into pedals that affect my volume. I don't want to have my volume affected before my overdrives. I want to affect them after my overdrives, but before any modular and chorus and delay pedals. Again, that is my preference. I don't like to have my volumes at the very start. I like to have them in the middle of my chain. So straight out of those, I go straight into my big Ernie ball volume pedal right here, right? Out of my Ernie ball, I've got a tuner out that runs into my poly tune. So my actual tuner itself is not in my chain. And then out of that, I'm going into the MXR micro amp, which is essentially just a boost, which I like to have on. Sometimes it gives you a really nice tone from your overall sound. And you can also use it as a boost if you have to have like a solo or a lead part in a particular song. I then jump into my delay pedals. So my delay pedals are something that I like to have sort of right in the middle, right after my volumes. So I'm going to jump firstly into my DD7, which is just a Boss DD7 digital delay. Out of that, it's going into a TC electronic delay. So this is 2 delays, different effects between the 2 of those. So out of those delays, I run into my wah, which is going to create some sort of an effect. Out of my wah, I'm then running into my Strymon Bluesky. I would say that around the delays, my wah, and any form of modular, tremolos, chorus pedals, flanges, any of those sort of pedals, phases, I would put around that place after your overdrives. I find that it generally works better. Again, try experiment between the 2, because you'll find that essentially, if you think about it this way, I've got my guitar coming in, I then put a bit of distortion. The distortion is being applied to a clean sound, potentially via my compressor, of course. To a clean sound, I get my distortions, and then on top of my distortions, I'm layering all of my modular and my delay pedals. If I have these in reverse, then I'm putting in all of my delays and everything first, with then my distortion packing on top of that. So I find that I like to have my delays and my modular pedals affect the sound of my distortion and not the other way around. So that is the reason why I like to have those split up this particular way. Out of that, I then run a stereo out from my Strymon. So it's a mono in and a stereo out. One going directly out to a output on my board, which will run into 1 amp, and the other one runs into a TC electronic looper, and then out of that runs into another amp, so that I can have a stereo effect. And the nice thing is that the Strymon has some cool stereo sort of sounds, so I can have the stereo running out through that into a couple of different output sources. So there you have it. That is my pedal board, and that is my overview. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I would love it if you gave me a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel for a whole bunch of more videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.